Good evening, and welcome to Skep Talk, the monthly speaker series hosted by the Bay Area Skeptics. Before tonight's presentation, a few words about Bay Area Skeptics. As North America's oldest skeptical organization, we are dedicated to promoting critical thinking, logic, and rational thought. In the 1970s and 80s, scientists such as Carl Sagan and magicians such as James Randi established the scientific skepticism movement out of concern about the popular fondness for pseudoscience and the lack of public science literacy. Scientific skepticism embraces evidence-based civil discourse on health, education, consumer protection, and especially the investigation of extraordinary claims. Using the scientific method, we hope to promote skeptical inquiry to reduce irrational thinking in society. This talk is supported by Bay Area Skeptics members such as you. Please visit us at baskeptics.org or join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Meetup. Consider supporting us through convenient monthly donations via Patreon. Patrons receive premiums such as discounts and free t-shirts for our annual Skeptical Conference. But more importantly, members help us make the world just a little more reasonable and rational. And now, tonight's speaker.
Good evening. I'm Eugenie Scott. Now, all of us watching this show tonight, we're skeptics. Probably all of us know someone who embraces some kind of pseudoscience. Conspiracies, UFOs, cryptids, ghosts maybe. I myself have a relative who believes she's psychic. She believes that many times she'll pick up the telephone, she'll know exactly who's on the other end. The same relative believes that she is a reincarnated Egyptian princess. My grandmother was a graphologist. And boy, I was really disappointed when I found out that there wasn't anything to graphology because it seemed really cool. Our guest tonight is more effective than many in dealing with people who embrace pseudoscience. He can empathize with people who have gone down a rabbit hole because he was there. He knows how easy it is to be persuaded by an attractive idea, especially when it's presented by somebody that you trust. I mean, my grandmother was convinced that personality could be reflected through penmanship. Who am I to question my grandmother? Coleman Watts is the host of the YouTube site Think This Through, which is, and I quote, dedicated to critical thinking, but not the boring kind. His YouTube site is not boring. His show tonight, Confessions of a Former Conspiracy Theorist, will not be boring. With a background in theater and technology, his YouTube site is very creative in its presentation of exposés of con artists, analyses of conspiracy theories and their factual shortcomings, and more recently, refutations of some of the health claims coming out of our government. You should check out the site, but watch the show tonight first. Coleman Watts, welcome to Bay Area Skeptics. So
Thanks,
good
Eugene.
to see you. So good to see you again.
Thanks so much.
I have had the pleasure of taking you through our local exploratorium a couple of months ago, when you and your wife were in town for another purpose, and we got together and we had a good time at the exploratorium. I think you guys really appreciated that place more than many.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Eugenie. It was great meeting up with you there.
Yeah, the exploratorium is going to be familiar to the people watching this program because at least those of us in the Bay Area have probably gone to the exploratorium on many occasions, but there you have it. Listen, I'm not going to spend a lot of time visiting with you, although it would be very pleasant. I think that there are people out there in YouTube land, little brain fog there. People out there in YouTube land who are very anxious to hear you tonight. So Coleman, take it away.
Thanks so much, Eugenie. Thanks to the Bay Area Skeptics for having me. They asked me to do a presentation tonight. And since I do a regular YouTube show and tend to have a lot going on with it, I am the presentation Here I am. I'm in it, and I'm live. This is not a recording of me. This is me right now, unless you're watching this on YouTube from the future, in which case I have so many questions. What year is it for you right now? And do you have flying cars? Do you have cold fusion? Have people finally accepted that the Earth is round? You know what? I think we have the technology that you can put in your answers to those questions, and they're going to read them at the end. So type in your answers to the questions, and I can't wait to hear from you, future people. Now, if you've watched my show on YouTube before, you know that I deal with things like conspiracy theories, like the fake moon landing and things like that. Or I do other videos where I take on psychics. Here's Joe Mercola, who believes that he's got the guidance of a psychic who's channeling a supernatural entity named Balan, who gives him his health advice. So don't take health advice from this guy. Or I take on grifters or cult-like things. Here's JP Sears, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. And nonsense of all kinds. Terrence Howard, what can I say? 1 times 1 is 1, Terrence. It's 1. It's 1. And those are all thumbnails from videos that I've made on my channel. And that brings us up to the present day. Here's this video that we're doing right now. So let's dive in. We're still here. I thought that was going to be more Inception-like, but anyway, welcome to the show, and welcome to Now, which yes is a homage to a space opera about balls in space from the past, which is also a movie from the distant past and the future, coming soon to a theater near you. And you YouTubers who are watching this from the future, could you let me know how the new one is? Because I'm not sure if I should go see it. I don't want spoilers, but if you could just like give me your advice from the future. Also in the comments or the chat for this video, so that I can hear about it at the end. Thanks. I really appreciate that. So it wouldn't be an episode of my show without a ridiculous intro monologue or the introduction theme song, which goes like this. So today we're going to talk about weird beliefs. You know that one friend or coworker or classmate you used to have, the one who went a little, you know, um, maybe you lost touch with them. Maybe they popped back into your feed at some point and something seemed a little off. Like, what? And maybe you got a little curious. Maybe you got a little nosy and you investigated some other stuff in there. And you were like, wow, maybe this person's not okay. And then they crossed the line. Then they made this post, which I'm going to show you right now. Avert your eyes. Actually, I blurred it out. It's okay, in case there's any young children in the audience, or if you've grown up since then. Maybe you're not a child anymore if you're from the future. Anyway, that post, you know the one I'm talking about. You saw it and you were done. The end of that friendship. So I was recently speaking to the National Association of Humanists in Chicago, and I asked them this question. How many of you know someone like this? Got them to raise their hands in the audience, and nearly all the hands went up. Folks, something is wrong. Something is very broken about that. Now, for me, I actually could raise my hand several times about that. I'll tell you one story here. So, a little backstory for this one. Do you remember back in 2021, there was a little, disagreement about the outcome of the election? On the one hand, you had the factual count of votes, and on the other hand, you had Donald Trump's feelings. He was going through the stages of grief. The first stage is denial. The second stage is destroy democracy. The Third Reich. The third stage is let's just hope that we don't get to that. So he manifested these feelings in a few different ways. He had some perfect phone calls. He had some press conferences at prestigious lawn and garden supply centers. And he also held some state recounts like this one that happened in Arizona by a company called the Cyber Ninjas. You remember them? Jeannie, you might need to mute yourself. So there were press conferences about these recounts given by one Doug Logan, who is the head of Cyber Ninjas, the founder and the CEO, and also my college roommate. Hi, Doug. Yeah, here we are. There he is up there. There's me, looking fresh-faced and hopeful about the future of all the wonderful things that are going to happen in the world. And there's Doug, present day, with the same kind of goofy expression on his face, exact same haircut, the exact same look that says, I didn't do my homework, except this time he's trying to explain it to a Senate subcommittee hearing about why that whole fiasco with the bamboo fibers and whatever he was looking for went so horribly wrong. So I shared a room with this guy for a year, and I never ever imagined that he was going to help aid and abet the destruction of our democracy. Although he did go off and join an evangelical church and then kind of disappeared and we lost touch. All I really honestly know about him now is from what I've heard in the news. And the news is not good. Apparently, Donald Trump never actually paid him for his contract and his company went bankrupt. So that's a real shame, So let me know if you know someone like that. Just talk to us in the comments about that. I think about what it would be like now to have a conversation with Doug today. On one hand, he would remember that we were buddies. We were roommates. We were pals. We both had a sort of a nerdy sense of humor. He really, really loved The Princess Bride. I wasn't that into it, but he really tried to get me into it. And on the other hand, he would probably see me as spawn of Satan because I believe in things like democracy and other satanic things. So there's that. We might reach a bit of an impasse on some points. On the other hand, I kind of have a problem with what he was trying to do with, screwing with our electoral system. So I don't know how the conversation would go, but there have been others. I actually have had some conversations with people. Those conversations invariably ended in me being told to fuck off. Yeah, actually all of them, every single one of them, all of them ended that way. But hey, I'm consistent. But before that, we had some good conversations. We were able to reach some common ground. And I can relate to a lot of things that these folks have to say because I used to be a believer. At various points in my life, I was like fully red pilled into believing or at least being open to or accepting of all of these things. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this too small? Is this hard to read? You really shouldn't be watching this on your phone, you know? You should go to the local IMAX theater and ask them to present this video. I'm sure everybody there would love it. But I can make it bigger for you though. It's all the fringe. And look, I know how this looks. I mean, I'm not crazy. I wasn't wearing a tinfoil hat or anything. It's I You know what? I've heard that whataboutism helps. So in my defense, there are millions of adults right now who believe that their Lord and Savior is a cracker, like not the racial kind, although that's problematic too, and also historically inaccurate. But I mean, like a literal cracker. And then they complain that he hasn't been around for the last 2,000 years. And this is why. Stop eating him. Stop drinking his blood. It's gross. So I was never that crazy, right? I was never into like deep into religions. I was just I wouldn't call myself a conspiracy theorist per se. I was just open to the idea of conspiracy theories. It was a possibility. Okay, let's dive in. Would say that during my like coming of age time, I was, well, you remember that picture of me. I was hopeful. I was optimistic. I wanted to make a positive difference in the world. And I still do. I still consider myself a pretty sincere person, um, and still have a kind of a goofy sense of humor. And one thing that I cared about when I was younger and still do was the environment. So books like this really bothered me. Silent Spring. I wanted to learn. I wanted to know more. I didn't feel like I learned everything I needed to know in school, and so I read books by people like Noam Chomsky or Howard Zinn or Michael Moore or Derek Jensen or Daniel Quinn. And this is sort of a sampling of some of my influences when I was younger. And looking back on it, I would say, is it a collection of good scientific ideas? Is it a collection of kooky nonsense? I would say yes. Yes, it is. And that's sort of how things spun around in my brain at the time, was that I got influenced by things that were sensible and things that were not so sensible. One thing about this sort of genre is that it gets a bit vaguely conspiratorial. There's, stuff like mistrust of the media, mistrust of corporations and the government, sometimes justified, sometimes perfectly justified, and sometimes a little out there. Speaking of which, I was also a seeker. I was looking for like higher truth and, you know, psychics, clairvoyance, um, gurus, channelers. This is Conversations with God by a guy who says that he completely channeled these books, didn't write them himself. A theme we'll come back to in just a few minutes. And spiritual solutions. I was looking for like hidden truth somewhere. I was just looking everywhere. Have you ever actually read a book like this? Because when you do, it gets kind of darkly conspiratorial. Like the mistrust of science, the believing that science is out to get them, out to suppress their knowledge, their hidden secret ancient wisdom, that it's all being covered up. It gets like that. So there are legitimate criticisms of scientific institutions. There are legitimate criticisms of medical institutions and insurance companies, sure. And there's the kooky stuff. And so, legit or not, a lot of this stuff was pushing me in the direction of the rabbit hole. Also, I took a meditation class when I was younger from a group that turned out to be a cult. I didn't know at the time. I just took the class and, it was kind of boring. It was meditation. Didn't sign up for their $2,000 follow-up class or the $10,000 ultimate follow-up class. Didn't ever go to their Maharishi University. Was invited to, couldn't afford it, didn't have the time. So, that was a win. Chalk that up to the not short enough list of cults that I almost joined. And, okay, this makes me sound weird too. But I just want you to think, have you ever almost been recruited into a cult? Are you sure? Are you sure you never have? Because there's more of them than you might realize. There are so many groups out there that offer self-help, meditation, spirituality. There's political cults. There's all sorts of groups, and they definitely want you to join them. So if there's a group that you have any questions about, Google it. Seriously, just go back and that group that you're thinking of right now, just Google it. I mean, after this video, watch the rest of this video. We're having fun. Anyway, I would say that my former self was not a conspiracy theorist per se, but I was like open to the ideas of conspiracy theories. It was believable. There were ideas that were floating around that, sure, maybe it could have happened. And then something happened to me in the 2010s. There was a new breed of anti-establishment rebels popping into a newish medium, a video sharing platform that you may have heard of, that you may be, in fact, watching right this very minute. And it was not just serving up videos for the general public, but for videos tailored to you based on what an algorithm thought what you wanted to watch, would make you them the most money. And so people started popping into my feed, like, this bro and this guy who started off being a skeptic, and then what the hell happened? And this dude, the facts don't care about your feelings, man-child. The big bald white supremacist dude. The lobster man. You know the lobster man. And the and the big gay frogs guy. Honestly, how did those lobsters not just shout big red flags? Where was Admiral Akbar when I needed him to shout, "It's a crap"? Obviously Admiral Akbar would have been very suspicious of a guy who had things that looked like him in his pockets, dead. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And looking back on this group of individuals, I would say that this group has its pros and cons, shall we say. But they kind of like fed on those seeds of cynicism that I had about mainstream culture, government, science, and they had this twist that they just tossed in there, just threw it in there, which was that actually the problem was wokeness, whatever that was. I didn't know what that was at the time. But they seemed very, very confident that they knew what they were talking about. Fun fact, con is short for confidence. The con in con man. So they were also telling me things like Western civilization is under attack, and they they were also very logical, right? Facts don't care about your feelings. We're the logical people. We're the ones who will teach you about logical fallacies, which are all being committed, obviously, by the woke people. And naturally, they were victims, right? They were all being canceled. They were all victims of cancel culture. That's why they all have enormous platforms and huge followings. That's how canceled they are. Anyway, yes, the YouTube algorithm is to blame for this in part, but I also want to give a shout out to some IRL, the real life people who helped suck me down these rabbit holes. And I've got two examples for you. These folks are not public figures, so I'm not going to give their real names. They're not in the news like Doug is. I really hope these people are never in the news. Like, seriously. All right, let's get into it. So, the first story I'll tell is about someone that I knew back in the day who was a big time climate activist. This woman was really effective at what she did. She was organizing local rallies to encourage people to lower their footprint, embrace green energy, reduce emissions, and lobby for climate justice. She got the whole town involved. She would have big like street festivals all about environmentalism. It wasn't even Earth Day, but that's how good she was at rallying people. And when you listen to her talk, she had some great things to say. And she also criticized the government, criticized the media for not doing enough, not unjustified criticisms at first. But then it got into some more like conspiratorial stuff, like chemtrails, like how they are poisoning us, or they are trying to modify the weather, or they are putting fluoride in the water, and we know that that's bad for you. So why would they do that to us? It kept going downhill from there. Honestly, I lost touch with her for a very long time. I mean, I still remember her as this like wonderful, positive climate activist, but she has popped up on my social media feed pretty recently, kind of out of the blue, and I did not recognize the person that I was seeing. She is now a militant, totally QAnon embracing anti-vaxxer. Like, all the way in. Second story. So, I knew a guy whose life revolved around organic food, alternative health, wellness, so much so that he gave up his job as a well-paying tech job to become a dairy farmer. And one thing that he really believed in was raw milk. He believed that raw milk was like a cure-all. It was a superfood. It would help extend your life. And he believed that there was a mainstream cover-up to hide that fact and to suppress it and to prevent people from even being able to buy it in stores. I drank his milk back in the day. By the way, it was delicious. I didn't get sick. That doesn't mean that you should drink raw milk. Google it. So he also, that little bit of a conspiratorial instinct kind of took over. He got into the Monsanto conspiracies, the big pharma, the cover-ups with the FDA, which meant that the whole government was getting involved. It was a huge conspiracy. And I also lost touch with him for quite a long time. Also didn't recognize him when he popped into my feed, because he is now a total conspiracy theorist, all the way to the rock bottom of the anti-Semitic part of the rabbit hole. He's like that into the deep state stuff. I actually reached out to him and tried to have a conversation because I wanted to know what had happened, and I wanted to share some of the things that I'd fallen into and see if I could help him find his way out. I couldn't, but I learned some things. I don't know if he learned anything from talking to me, but I did learn from talking to him. One thing really struck me is that no matter how hateful his conspiracy theories seemed to me, he totally viewed himself as a good person, as the good guy, as somebody who was just trying to shine a light on all the evils going on behind the curtains. I mean, honestly, who views themselves as a bad person? Nobody. We all want to think of ourselves as good, no matter what kooky ideas we're into. Also, nobody really thinks of themselves as kooks. Well, almost nobody. So, this is personal for me on many levels. I'm giving this like live version of the show that I do on YouTube. Um, It's going okay so far. I've never actually attempted this before, to have the backdrop and the graphics and the things going on. Um, Thanks for having me on. I think this is okay. Um, so I know that this is personal for you too, because you probably know somebody like this. And so I want to talk about this on a macro level as well. Because the social forces, the friends that we have that recommend weird ideas to us or introduce us to strange fringe things, and the algorithms that push us further down rabbit holes, they work together with a sort of a sick synergy. So if somebody in real life recommends something to you, a piece of fringe content, the algorithm is going to notice that you're watching it, and it's going to recommend more and more of that content to you, whether you actually believed it or were fully invested in it or not. Just the fact that you watched it, the algorithm is like, aha, I'm going to feed this person more of that garbage. It doesn't care if it's true. It cares if you're watching. It cares if you're watching the ads and engaging and clicking and liking and subscribing. Um, so, if you heard about chemtrails and Googled it to find out if it was a real thing, hey, we got you now. Here's a video of Alex Jones talking about how chemicals are turning the freaking frogs gay. And this didn't happen to me alone. This didn't happen to just that friend that you know. We all have somebody we know like that. I still have several other people I know like that I haven't even mentioned yet. And like those two, they start off seeming like progressive and open-minded and caring for the environment or people's health or wanting to improve the world, make it a better place. How does that go so horribly wrong? Well, to illustrate this point, here's a giant horseshoe. It's a metaphor for what some people refer to as the horseshoe effect, which is something that happens where the two ends of the political spectrum aren't necessarily at polar opposites from each other, but can actually curve around. So the extreme left wing and the extreme right wing politically can reach out and touch each other practically. Here's an example. If you start off having a concern in global warming, and then you sort of veer off to the left in terms of environmentalist concerns, and that gets you into organic food. And then you start to find out more about natural remedies and going down that rabbit hole, which leads you to an irrational fear of toxins that just are everywhere. And you have to do these detoxes and cleanses to get rid of them. And then you learn about chemtrails, which is even weirder and worse and pushes you even farther down the conspiratorial rabbit hole. And finally, you're somewhere off the charts believing that the government controls the weather. And now we're all the way back around the other end of the political spectrum, thinking that global warming itself is a hoax, which, by the way, is the polar opposite of where you started. You now believe something that you did not believe because you have gone all the way around the bend. It sounds crazy, but it happens. It happens to people, and it's getting faster. And I've got some examples to share with you. Here's a guy whose brain is basically like bzzz, right in the middle of the horseshoe. It's where he's now jumped ship from being an extremist on the left to being a MAGA extremist. And he's dragging millions of other people over to his side with his Maha movement, which sounds very sinister. Maha ha ha ha, we might say. So I, of course, made a video about him, as Jeannie thoughtfully mentioned in her intro. And you can check it out right here and learn more about the horseshoe bend that this guy has been around through the past few years. And you just have to watch it. It gets kind of nuts. Oh no, I'm in the horseshoe. How did that happen? Okay, well, let's give some more examples while we're here. Oh boy. Yes, this is going to get crazy. Ready? Here we go. Remember this guy? His name is Russell Brand. And I think he's looking at his arc of personality. I think one thing that's always been consistent is he's always been kind of nuts. But he used to be nuts in a very different way. He was like trying to be a spiritual guru, teaching meditation, and also very, very progressive politically and making political content as well as spiritual content, where he was like criticizing Fox News and stuff like that. Fast forward less than a decade, and now he is a fully deep state believing, QAnon promoting, complete MAGA nut, and also accused of being a sex offender. So there's that. Okay, next example. Remember this guy? So back in the day, J.P. Sears here used to be kind of an unserious wellness influencer. This is a clip, this is a screenshot from one of his humorous videos where he was making fun of New Age people. And he did a bunch of these videos. You probably watched one of them at some point. They were very funny and kind of nice, refreshing for the skeptical community, because he was poking fun at some really ridiculous New Age health trends and fads and yoga and butthole sunning and all sorts of funny things like that. And he was also very progressive in his values. He was very much pro gun control, very much pro equal rights and all of that stuff. And oh boy, look at him now. This is not ironic. He is now fully into the deep state conspiracies, fully embracing all the fringe QAnon stuff, and he is deadly serious about it. So, what happened? I said that we would get back to this, and here we are. So, this is the first video that I did about J.P. Sears, where I did a deep dive into the conspirituality arc, as I called it. Because he went from having these spiritual beliefs all the way around to having conspiratorial beliefs without passing go. I actually ended up making a 2-part series. And you can check out the videos here. Here's part 2. And briefly, he went from being originally a New Age holistic life coach to then a comedian making fun of New Age holistic life coaches. But one important detail about him was that he was trained, I don't know about credentialed, by a sort of a New Age spiritual educational place that his teacher and mentor, I discovered, was a big-time anti-vaxxer. And as you might remember, vaccines were a bit of an issue in 2020, and that is exactly when he rounded the bend. He was on his way already. I mean, I get into it here. Do check it out. But when he really crossed over, like jumped from point A to point B on that horseshoe, um, it was the vaccine thing for him. Like, he found that all of his allies were no longer progressive politically. They were all flocking to the right wing because of this galloping across the horseshoe. In my research for this video on J.P. Sears, I discovered, I think, the single most important spiritual teaching that he gave. And for today's spiritual reading, I'm going to turn it over to JP because this is just really critical. You need to hear this.
And until he died, he refused to allow his name to be attached to the book because he says, from his point of view, he channeled the book. He said, I didn't write it. I was the hand that recorded the book. But he said the book wasn't by me. I'm not willing to take credit for it. If nothing else, it makes a great story. Maybe true, maybe false, or maybe somewhere in the middle.
Maybe true, maybe false, or maybe somewhere in the middle. What a great approach to veracity. What a great approach to facts. And this approach, this attitude, I've found is the key to winning the grift game, and has been the through line, has been the one consistent attitude that he's had through all of these twists and turns of his various beliefs and the crazy things that he's gotten into and gotten out of. So, yeah, maybe true, maybe false, maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe chemtrails are real, or lizard people, right? Or ancient aliens, JP. Or maybe the deep state is true, maybe it's false, maybe it's something else. Or maybe the earth is flat. Or maybe the earth is just quasi-flat. Yeah. Apply that logic to just about anything and it falls right to pieces. But logic isn't the point here. The point is, facts don't matter. What matters is getting clicks and likes and views on trending topics. And that is the spiritual insight I gained from our pal JP that I'm sure he did not ever intend to teach me. So let's take a deeper look at the social media landscape of today. I've modeled it after a pyramid, coincidentally the same exact shape as a cult or a pyramid scheme. So, who rises to the top of the social media griftiverse? Well, you need two qualities to make it to the very top of that pyramid. One, you need sheer volume. And I mean that in both senses of the word. You need to be loud and you need to be consistently spewing out stuff. You need to have that talent, which most of us don't have, which is that when I run out of things to say, for example, I stop talking. Not the people at the top of that pyramid. They can just go on and on and on. You know that Joe Rogan's podcasts are sometimes over 4 hours long? No facts needed. The other thing you need is the ability to grab people's attention. You need to be able to shock them or be extra relatable and grab their emotions. In other words, you need attention-seeking behavior. And these two are the key to success in today's social media landscape. Now, what you might ask falls to the bottom? Well, just about everything else, right? Science and logic and facts and journalism, of course. Any kind of nuance or complexity, all of that stuff just falls by the wayside. it's a system of artificial selection, you might say, where the people with, say, narcissistic tendencies, con artistry, the ability to bullshit, go straight to the top. Now, this isn't a brand new phenomenon. Social media didn't invent this. There have been people in the past who take your L. Ron Hubbards or your Jim Joneses. They were able to amass huge followings. L. Ron Hubbard by creating a fake religion and selling it to people for thousands and thousands of dollars. He got filthy rich and didn't have to even pay taxes on it. And Jim Jones, I hear he made a killing. Sorry about that. You didn't deserve that one. Anyway, so the problem with these folks is that they didn't have the infrastructure that we now have. They didn't have a ready-made turnkey social media system. They achieved their success, let's give credit where it's due, despite the system, not because of it. So you might be wondering, were there fewer people like this in the past? Or were they just less visible? And my answer to that question would actually be probably both, because I think these traits lie dormant in all of us. And there have been psychology experiments that demonstrate that they can be brought out under the right conditions. Well, the social network is the right conditions. All you need to do is log in and play the game. Everything is built for you, and you've got the constant promise of upward mobility. And by the way, people in the middle of this pyramid, I'm glad it's still spinning here for us. People in the middle of this pyramid are not only trying to scramble their way to the top by becoming more and more narcissistic and more con artist-like, but they've also got their sights set on people lower down in the pyramid. They're turning around and selling courses to those folks, telling them how to get rich instantly or how to have 1 million followers overnight. So those are the sorts of ebooks you can expect to find when you're looking to influencers who are working their way up to the top of the pyramid. I mean, honestly, everybody wants followers, right? By the way, you can subscribe to my channel, Think This Through, on YouTube right here. Just click on that link or the world will end. Trust me, bro. We all crave attention. All of us. So enough about them. Let's talk about me. Honestly, I was headed down a dark path, and I didn't know how dark it was going to get because I was in a tunnel, and you don't know. I was in a pipeline. You don't know what's at the end of a pipeline. You can't see. It's dark in there. My dairy farmer buddy, there but for fortune is all I can say. So what saved me? What got me out? What prevented me from going deeper and deeper? Well, I would say a couple of things. One is relationships in my life that were not just people that were pushing me down. That was actually the minority. That most people that I knew would have been very skeptical of the sorts of fringe ideas that I was starting to embrace, which is a nice way of saying that they thought it was crap. And that would have produced cognitive dissonance in me, and it had to give one way or the other. So I either had to go further down and abandon those relationships or something, which was not what I wanted to do. And if I was to go all the way down, if I was to go any further than I went, because really I was at the cusp of getting of wherever the flushy thing is in this toilet bowl. If I was to go any farther down, I would have had to accept the demonization of people that I considered friends, considered allies, considered that people that were my family or that I was very close to. And demonization only works when you don't know the person. So that was not really tenable. And the other thing that I wanted to briefly touch on here is that the logic of the conspiracy theories themselves actually helped me to reject the conspiracy theories. Because remember, the intellectual dark web was supposed to be intellectual, right? The bros were all about facts and logic. And originally, when I discovered that, I felt intimidated. I felt like I had to catch up. And so I did. And I learned about fallacies. I learned about logic. I did my own research. How about that? And I questioned the narrative. I also followed the money. All things that I were taught to do by conspiracy theorists. But when you turn it on them, well, where does the money go exactly? Up the grifter pyramid. That's where it goes. So I was out, and I was honestly one of the lucky ones. It was a very disorienting experience, and it wasn't something that happened instantly. I had to wake up from one thing after another, and that process of realizing, wow, this belief that I was getting sucked into, wow, this was crap. I wonder about this other thing. Let me look that up. Let me look up some counterpoints, some counter arguments that I had just not come across. And one by one, not only were the conspiracy theories that I was into at the time, uh, not only was I managing to debunk those, but I was also going back and looking at things from my younger days. Some of the books that I showed you, I was like, wait a minute. Some of this is crap too. I never questioned it. It was like Jeannie said, like you have no reason to doubt people that people that are older and wiser than you at the time. Now, doubt is more of a default mode for me. And so as I was researching this, I discovered some other people who were putting out really good content, like a guy named Drew who told a similar story about almost falling down a rabbit hole, almost joining a cult. I felt like what I had been involved in got very culty and very cult-like, and I was, especially when I started to extract myself from it, and the kinds of reactions I had to people in it when I was questioning it and just like asking them polite questions, not good responses, shall we say. So he introduced me to, in his video, to Dr. Stephen Hassan, who created a very handy visual aid and chart to talk about cults called the BITE model, BITE, which stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. And it also helped me to understand influence. Cults are all about undue influence and exploiting people, and that definitely does happen in the grifterverse. But there's also all kinds of ways that people can be influenced. And so Google this, check this out, check out Stephen Hassan and his BITE model. It's very, very helpful. And you might recognize some aspects of undue influence and coercive control in that group. Remember from the beginning of this presentation that I told you should Google, you really should Google them. Okay, so I wanted to do my part. I wanted to help inform people and warn people or something. And I eventually made this channel and told.
And you know what that means. What does that mean?
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
That's what it means. Anyway. Oh, a rabbit hole! Help! Help! Dorothy! Kansas is going bye-bye! Help!
Alrighty. Oh, I'm back. Hello. So, as I was saying, I finally started my own channel on YouTube, and it took a while. I had a lot of, hang-ups about, whether anything that I could do would be good enough and whether it would actually help anybody. But I really wanted to do it, and here I am. And that first video that I just showed you was called The Red Pill, and it was a little bit of an autobiographical and a little bit of a satirical look at people who believe that they've taken some kind of red pill and have learned the truth about the life, the universe, and everything. We all know what it really is. It's 42. So this channel is now dedicated to debunking cons, cults, and conspiracies. And it's called Think This Through because I love alliteration that much. And okay, yes, I'm participating in the grift economy, the attention economy, at least. I'm not a grifter. I'm trying to call out grifters. But my focus is not the people at the bottom, the believers, the people who get conned, or even the people in the middle. I'm really trying to focus on the people at the top of the pyramid. So my very latest video, the one way over there, that crying guy is called Jeff Divine. He gave himself that name. Have you ever heard of the Twin Flames universe? Because you really should. It's, Professor Dave says that flat Earth is the bottom of the barrel for conspiracy theories. I think that Twin Flames universe is pretty darn close to the bottom of the barrel for cults and high control groups because their stuff is just so absolutely insanely. You can't make this stuff up. Look, there was a Netflix documentary a few years ago. You can check it out, Escaping the Twin Flames, and you'll see just how unlikable these cult leaders are, just how they spend their time yelling at people and flaunting their wealth and saying, look how much we have. That's their Porsche that they bought with the money that their followers gave them. So briefly, their grift is that they think that they tell you that you can find your twin flame, your one true soulmate, your ultimate lover. And the proof is that these two have each other. Well, that just proves it, doesn't it? And also, not only can you have ultimate love, you can also have ultimate wealth and happiness. And again, look at them. They have it all. Okay. I don't have to tell you this, but they don't have their wealth because of anything that they spiritually manifested. They have their wealth by conning people into thinking that they can spiritually manifest stuff. And it's no miracle or any kind of supernatural phenomenon that the two of them are together. They're not twin flames. They just happen to be, well, let's just say that they deserve each other. Meanwhile, their enlightened teachings is like, Jeff, this is a real video that Jeff put out. And it's not even the stupidest one, but in this video, he promises that he's going to teach you the secrets of wealth. And he does that by showing you how expensive his watches are. Literally, that's what he does. He just goes like this. Look what an awesome watch I have. You know what? I paid like $25 for this watch. But Jeff up there, he paid thousands and thousands of dollars for his watches, and he wants you to know it. That's their guru talk. That is who has made it to the top of the pyramid. And what they're selling and how they say you need to do the work and do spiritual work, and they didn't do any work for what they've got. They didn't do any spiritual work to find each other, and they definitely don't do any definitely don't do any work to get their money. Their followers do all of that. By the way, breaking news, as of this past week, they are now under active investigation by the state attorney's office, and the state prosecutor is building a case against them. Brand new. they were just they just came out of saying that there's absolutely nobody's got anything on them, and absolutely they're going to get away with it scot-free. I don't think they are, but we're going to see how all of this unfolds. One of their defenses of saying that they are not a cult is that they don't have a compound. Well, let me tell you what, compounds involve a lot of upkeep. They're expensive and they take a lot of work. Why would you do that when you've got social media ready-made with all of the cult structure is just built into the app? Get yourself a social media account, and you've got a follow button so that you can get cult followers. You've got a share button so that your cult members can share your teachings with other people, and you've got a pay and donate button so that people can give you money. What else does a cult need or lead? You don't need a compound. Give me a break. By the way, I have a Patreon account, Patreon. You can sign up and give me money. I'm currently earning tens of dollars a month on Patreon. So I could afford a new one of these probably with the money that I've earned. Oh God, who am I kidding? I am in the wrong line of work. If I wanted to be making money, I am not going about it the right way. And you know what? Normally in my shows, my recorded shows, I do these like skits and usually have some like music and costumes and sets and this is a live talk. You know, this is just me with my little PowerPoint here, but let me see what I can do. Hang on, I got this. Hello, everybody. I am Coleman, the Magnificent, the Divine. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. And don't forget to pay me money. I am here to give you all of my spiritual wisdom. Oh, yeah. I have developed a technique that you need, and it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be worth it for me. It is called the Successful Human Achievement Realignment Technology, or SHART. Who needs more SHART in their life? You do. You do there. So, did I mention you should like, share, and subscribe and follow? Yes, you should, so you can get more SHART in your life. Now, here's how this is going to work. We are going to enter into a meditative state. I want you all to close your eyes. Really. Just shut them. And right now, what I want you to do is just focus on what you want in your life. Ignore all the things that you already have that make you happy. Just forget about that. I want you to focus on at least one thing that you don't have enough of. Maybe it's health or success or love or confidence. Look at me. Look at how confident I am. Nothing like a good confidence. Maybe it's intelligence. You want to be as intelligent as this guy right here. Or maybe it's height. Maybe you'd like to grow taller. I can help you with that. I really can. Or perhaps it's fabulous wealth. I have all of those things, except for the last one, but that is where you come in, my friend. Trust me. Now focus on that one thing that you don't have, because I want you to be miserable. I want you to be miserable and needy so that you can participate in the 200-step technique that I've developed that will get you anything you want except for fabulous wealth. That's for me. Act now. Supplies are limitless. You can join in on my live streams where I ramble for at least 90 minutes straight with no script and no agenda. I just talk and you get to receive whatever it is that I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm saying sometimes, but you get to listen to it and interpret it, and it's going to change your life, brother. It really will. Finally, I want to introduce you to my pyramid scheme of success. This is how it works. You get to not be up there. That's for me. You get to be somewhere down here, contributing up here. Now, I've decided to structure this business as a church, because what is a church after all but an organization that doesn't pay taxes? I like that. Now, you can become a certified coach. You can funnel up money up the pyramid for free. I'm suddenly feeling very, very religious. Except, hang on. Scientists are saying, what? Scientists are saying that this is not scientific? What? The media is reporting on me and saying that I'm a scammer? What? They're a bunch of liars. They don't want you to achieve success. They're all part of the cover-up. This can only mean one thing. It's a conspiracy. It's a giant conspiracy against me. I'm the victim here. Give me your money. I'm the victim. Whew. That was fun. Never done that for a live video before. So I do have some closing thoughts for you. We all need to touch grass. So yes, the system is stacked against us, ordinary people, and grifters get promoted astronomically and the rest of us don't. But do you really want to be astronomically above other people? Isn't it better to just be a good person? For me, I can say that falling for con artists was a very humbling experience. I learned about my own fallacies and blind spots, and I learned that learning about those things is for us. It's not to use against other people to win arguments. Fallacies are a great tool for learning about how you can improve your own thinking, not cheap internet comebacks to own the opponent. Critical thinking is something that starts in here, not out there, because the hardest mind in the world to change is your own. I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. Think of something that you've never questioned. Like Eugenie said at the beginning, is it maybe you heard about a detox cleanse or organic food or the power of positive thinking or the fact that the average human swallows 16 spiders in the course of their lifetime? Google it. Seriously. Get excited about being wrong and share that excitement with other people. It's great to be wrong because then you get to learn and grow, which is awesome. And for that friend of yours that you're thinking of, you know who I'm talking about at this point. The best thing you can do for them is just to be there. Don't argue, don't shame them, don't try to prove them wrong. Just show up. And they can learn that regular people like us are not monsters. We're not, normies or NPCs or people who are part of the conspiracy or whatever stereotype they've been fed. We're just relatable people who can be there, be emotional supports for them. And that you can have happiness and health and love and fulfillment all without a guru or a life coach or an online group. And if that friend of yours ever comes around to admitting that they were wrong, just remember, changing your own mind is hard. But the hardest thing is to graciously accept when someone else does. And with that, we've come to the end of our show. And normally my show ends with a sound effect and a logo and something that's, this.
I was muted. I was muted twice, actually, but now I'm not muted at all. So thank you so much. That was very stimulating, shall we say. You know, I gotta say, kind of right at the end there, when you more than one time you were talking about Googling it, Google it. There's a lot of bad information on Google, Coleman.
Oh, I know.
Google
I know.
Google is not necessarily the solution. It is part of the problem, because it is also, well, it's not exactly social media, but you can get a lot of bad stuff by Googling things. Doing your own research is a punchline for people like us.
It's absolutely true. It's true. I think my point there was that some people don't even do that. So people who are in the rabbit holes are avoiding any counter information, avoiding any counter arguments, and just a simple Google search of arguments against chemtrails or anything like that would bring up things that they had not considered. So I think it's a start, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of misinformation out there too.
I like particularly the suggestion of Googling arguments against X, arguments contrary, searching specifically for contrary views, because I mean, I can just tell you, having dealt with the creationism and evolution controversy for such a long period of my professional life, that there's so much more, in one sense, there's so much more stuff out there about anti-evolution. I mean, obviously, if you consider the professional scientific literature, the amount of information that supports evolution and accepts evolution is just monumental. But people aren't reading Science Magazine and the Journal of Paleontology and Human Evolution. They're not reading that. They're reading, somebody who just posted something because he heard it from his next door neighbor or whatever. And so much of the time, the crazy stuff, the bad stuff, the erroneous information, the non-factual information is much more prevalent than is the solid, factual, logically based information. It's much easier to stumble onto a site promoting the flat Earth than there is. I mean, who's going to have a website promoting spherical Earth, right? I mean,
the big globe.
That's a punchline.
The big globers. Yep.
We had a speaker a couple of months ago, a researcher, a psychologist who researches misinformation and disinformation, a man by the name of Gordon Pennycook, Canadian, does really interesting work. I wonder if you've ever come across a website called debunkbot.com.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
You might check it out. It's very creative, because what it is a site for people who do believe in conspiracy theories, who really do think global warming is a hoax, or that Bigfoot is real, or pseudoscience du jour. And they have an AI that interacts with you, very conversationally. But the AI is sort of going through all of those refutation sites that we were just talking about.
Nice.
But picking up really on your statement about you got to be there. You need to establish a relationship of trust with anybody that you're trying to convince otherwise. You have to establish a feeling that, you can say something but not be threatening. Without reinforcing their ideas, you can at least try to crack that door a little bit so that somebody will start to consider more accurate information. But the AI chatbot that you converse with in this debunkbot.com site does exactly that. It's very non-judgmental. It's there for you, so to speak. But it does make you think through your assumptions and accepting the pseudoscience du jour, whatever it is you're discussing, creationism or whatever. Nice. Check it out. And those of you listening, if you missed Gordon Pennycook's talk a couple of months ago, you might check it on the Bay Area Skeptics YouTube site, because it was a very interesting talk. But also, go ahead and log on to a debunk bot and become a conspiracy theorist of some sort, and just engage with the AI. It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, and I have to say that the debunkers out there really do make a difference. I mean, I can personally attest that they made a difference for me. This was before there were AI bots to do it, but I was reading people's blog posts, debunking beliefs that I had held. I started to get sort of hungry for it because, as I said in my talk, once one domino falls, you kind of want to see where it all ends up. And so I was just wanting to sort out my.
I would love for you to expand on that a little bit. You say that's the debunkers actually did make you think through some of your. Can you give us an example of something, how back in the past, what a particular conspiracy or what it was that someone said or made you think about that started turning you toward, because so much of the time, when you debunk something, when you present information that contradicts an erroneous idea, yes, sometimes the person does change their mind, but sometimes the person also digs in their heels.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to be open to it. I got to the point where I was open to it because I was tired of being lied to, and I was not anymore motivated to believe things just because somebody had said so. I really wanted to know. And so, but yeah, I mean, if it had been earlier in my life, I believed at one point in my life, I believed in homeopathy. And because that's what I had been told by people that I trusted when I was growing up. And so it was something that I was, for a while, felt kind of attached to. And at that point, I don't think I would have accepted the counter arguments unless, I might have. If I'd taken a whole class on it in school or something, I think it probably would have sunk in, honestly. But schools don't really offer a lot of classes about that sort of critical thinking or debunking, unfortunately. But later, when I was getting, hungry for it and, watched a James Randi video about homeopathy, quackery and fraud was one of his really entertaining talks. And I was like, wow, okay, why did I even believe this in the first place? Because I hadn't really looked into it. And so that's why I say as a shorthand, Google it, look up the information, look for the missing pieces that you've been ignoring.
Right. Look for the contradictory information. The researchers in misinformation and disinformation and the kind of psychological processes that we're talking about are pretty clear that the ideas that are most resistant to change are the ones that have consequences for your core beliefs. They have confidences for the ideologies that you hold most dear and your values. I suspect that homeopathy was nothing that was an organizing principle for your personality or anything like that. And so those kinds of beliefs are a lot easier to let go. And those are the beliefs that really do respond, shall we say, positively to debunking or to factual presentation. The real tough stuff is when, like with a lot of climate change, it becomes associated with an identity group. Well, I'm a Republican, so I have to think that climate change is a hoax, or I'm a Republican, so I have to believe that the election was stolen, regardless of whether or not the data support it. Yeah, it's a getting people away from misinformation and disinformation and conspiratorial beliefs and others. It's a problem for all of us. Well, why don't we see if we've got some questions? And from Steph in San Jose, She says, how can we help others realize they keep falling for AI hallucinations? Because I'm seeing it more and more these days that people take AI conspiracy theories at face value.
AI conspiracy theories. I don't know. I don't know if AI is. I'd be curious to know if AI is actually generating the conspiracy theories or just echoing them, echoing things that other people have said. I think most generative AI is just regurgitating what somebody has said at some point. Um, so yeah, I think bad actors can put that to use to amplify their message just by creating a whole bunch of spammy content or creating a whole bunch of, just flooding the zone. Like I was saying, the people that are going up the pyramid, AI is such a boon for the grifters trying to just put out as much quantity of information as possible with no regard for quality. How do you stop people from falling for stuff? I mean, how do you know you haven't fallen for it? I think I think the easiest person to fool is yourself. Somebody smart said that. So we need to make sure that we understand what's going on, and then can help communicate that to others. So yeah, I find AI to be a fascinating topic because it's changing so fast,
Right.
and it has such positives and such negatives. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think that I can stop anybody from falling for things, but I can. I think that people people can be taught to recognize what's out there. My very next video actually is going to be about an AI hoax that I'm getting ready to put out, and it's. I think that people are getting more savvy to it because nobody wants to be lied to. Nobody wants to be duped. Nobody wants to, I think people get kind of embarrassed when they see fake AI generated images, et cetera, and think that it's real. And then somebody tells them, how could you even think that, count the fingers or something like that. So, people are, I think there's going to be some social pressure also to be more savvy about that. It's going to be a survival skill in the near future.
Yeah. It's something that people are going to need to learn to deal with. We need to teach kids about that as well. I've read that they do a lot of that sort of thing in Finland, and that Finnish, like high school students, middle school students, are actually pretty savvy about their use of social media, which is very cool. Well, can we have another question, please? Tanya Marwood asks, can we modify social media mechanics to stop it turbocharging this falling for bullshit mechanism?
Well, we can't, but the owners can. The owners who are making a lot of money from the current infrastructure. There's a conspiracy for you. I think that we can put pressure on them to do it.
Yeah.
And we can and we should, because social media is another one of those things like AI that has such positives and such negatives. It has the ability to connect people, and it also has the ability to manipulate people. And
yeah.
And so,
and that's the whole point.
Right. We want the positives and we want less of the negatives. So yes, we absolutely should put pressure on the owners of the social media companies to be more responsible.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate, I guess, that outrage is the most effective means by which you can monetize your site or get the following, get the clicks, get the likes, get the shares. Outrage tends to do it more than anything else. And that's really sad. I hate to think that that's a commentary on the human species, but maybe that's a good place to end. Well, Coleman, thank you so much. It was lovely of you to spend an evening with us at Bay Area Skeptics, and we appreciate your work. And I would strongly urge people to check out your YouTube site and take a look at some of those videos. They are a great deal of fun. And I think we had fun tonight. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
The rest of you, don't go away. There we go. I'm here. Next month, there will not be a Skep Talk on the second Thursday of the month, as is our normal pattern. Instead, Bay Area Skeptics will be hosting the 13th annual Skeptical on Saturday, August 23rd. It's going to be held in person. We're not going to be doing it remotely this year. In person at the Oakland Asian Cultural Center in downtown Oakland. That's a short walk from the 12th Street BART, many AC transit lines. It'll be very easy to get to. Please join us. We have a list of outstanding speakers that you will really enjoy hearing. Mick West and Ross Blotcher, Dana Nuccitelli, sorry, Dana. I actually do know how to pronounce your name. Kyle Polich, Seth Shostak, lots of others. Go to the website, skepticalcon.com. Find out more and register and join us. And there's also a really cool t-shirt that you're probably going to want to buy as well. Now, that's for August. Join us September 11th for the return of the Skep Talk series with journalist Jacob Silverman, who is going to be talking about crypto scams. And thank you very much for coming tonight. Good night. See you in August at Skeptical, and see you in September right back here on the second Thursday of September, September 11. Good night.